Hi, I'm Lowpro, and I've created a new way to play Bakugan, the gate card game that is, or what people call the toy battling game. Now this project is inspired by Bakugan Melee, created by Jet Kuso. Now I'm gonna go down the rules from setup, how to play, and then how everything works. Now this is a deck. And to set up, you need 3 Bakugan with a printed B power or a card that has their B power on it. Sadly, I don't know what to do with Bakugan like this yet. These have 3 different stats and they really don't interact with anything from this older version of the game. So they sadly can't be used. But anything else should be fine. That also means older Bakugan with a G power are allowed. Now you can just easily convert G power to B power and it should work fine. The attributes may change a little, but I've got a rules document in the description that should explain all of that. So, after you've chosen your 3 Bakugan, you choose 3 differently colored Bakugans. Now, how these work I'll explain later in the battle section. Then there are the card pieces. These are any Bakugan support pieces or accessories that have a card that explains their abilities and or B power. Then you have 1 slot for a support piece with a printed B power like Geogan or old Battle Gear which has G power on it. If it's got a printed power level, you can use it in your support piece slot. You also need 3 gate cards with different artwork on them, because having the same gate card twice wouldn't be fair and probably be a little bit unbalanced. What the symbols do, I'll explain later in the battle section. Now, after you've chosen everything, you're ready to battle. I've already set up a test opponent right here with everything he's got. Now, obviously in the game, you don't have to show what you have. So you place everything face down. You only show that you have 3 different symbols or colors like that, and then that you have 3 gate cards and 3 Bakugan and your support pieces and everything. And it looks like this. Now to begin the game, each player chooses one of their gate cards. You have them in your hand so you don't show your opponent, and places them face down towards their opponent. Like that. Then, first, before you set the gate cards, you roll a die, and whoever rolls the highest begins and places the first gate card, and then also begins the first turn. So let's say we got the first turn. Now we got the enemy gate card here and our gate card here. We probably want to land on ours. But for this example, it doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna show you how everything works so you understand the rules of my new format. Now we choose one of our Bakugan and roll it from 2 card length away, So 1 would be here, going from the closest card to us. 1 would be here, 2 would be here. And that's how long it takes to roll. Now each Bakugan has an arrow on it, which is usually where you want to roll it. Now that would be a miss. And misses, if you miss, you place a Bakugan on a used area where you can't use it again until you used all 3 of your Bakugan. Now, let's try to go for a hit so I can show you everything. Now that's a stand. Now, every Bakugan stays exactly where they are and on the card they are on. Now, if any card gets displaced like this, both players may agree to put their card back how it was. Now it's the other player's turn, and they would roll a Bakugan. Now let's say they made it onto this card. Then it's our turn again. Now it gets interesting, because normally we don't have anything to do yet. We just roll until someone gets a battle. But in my format, now we can begin taking actions. We have 3 Baku cores. Now each of these Baku cores do something different. How it works, I'll explain as I use them. Now, we got 1 Baku core here, which would be kind of strange to see in a deck. It says -500. And you might be thinking, why would we give ourselves -500? But in my new format, you can use a Baku core on any Bakugan on the field. Now the field is everything that has a gate card. Basically, both of these Bakugan are considered to be on the field if they're standing on a bait card. That means I can give the -500 to the opponent's Bakugan. And then it would be attached to them forever until that Bakugan leaves the field. Now obviously you don't physically attach it like I did, because then it would be easy to remove the Bakugan. You just place it near them to show they have a constant -500. That makes minus cores now be playable in the game. Then I could also place one of my cores, which gives us plus effects, to my Bakugan. But it's usually reserved for battle. Now this core doesn't say it gives speed power, it gives attacking power, which is only used in the TCG version. But I've revamped that. Every symbol now counts as 100B, so this one gives plus 500B power instead of plus 5 attack power. So we can add it to our Bakugan, and now it's got a constant plus 500. Or we can hold it until battle and add that 500 then. That's how Baku cores work. You can now throw Baku cores even though there's not a battle yet. Any Baku core thrown stays with the Bakugan it's attached to until that Bakugan leaves the field, then that Baku core goes to the player who used it used pile. Now let's say there's a battle. If 2 Bakugan are on the same card, that's a battle. Then you look at each of the Bakugan's printed B power like this, and their printed attribute like this. It's hard to see with my bad camera, but it's this one right here, and that gives them the bonus based on their attribute. So this one and this one, they're the same basically, because it's for testing and showing you everything. They both get plus 600 B power. Like standing in battle, you can add cores to your and other Bakugan in battle. Each player may use cores. Just remember which player used what cores so it doesn't get confusing. Now in battle you have a little more options. You can use one of your card pieces. If you deploy a card piece, it's basically like using an ability card in the very old Bakugan format. If you want to use a nanogun, you say you use it, and then you fold out your nanogun and stick it onto your Bakugan. Now the abilities on the card activate based on what cores are used on your Bakugan. If you have used a Helix core, you get the ability for the Helix core, so plus 100B. If you use a Helix Fist and Yellow Shield, you get plus 2500B. Now the Helix I've used is kind of strange, because it has 500B but -1 attack. So how it works in the format is you get plus 400B because each symbol counts as 100B even if it's a minus. So 500 minus 100 is 400. So now the battle continues. You can add more pieces if you want. You can add a Geogan to the battle. The Geogan also gets B power based on its attribute. This one is darkest, so it gets 500 B power. Your side gets the Geogan's B power plus its bonus as well. And then, after everyone's played everything they have, the player with the highest B power wins. And they get that gate card into a winning pile. Now everything that's used in the battle goes to the used area. Of the respective player, including the Bakugan that were used in the battle. Now, Bakugan, if all 3 of your Bakugan are in the used pile, you collect them all and put them in your unused pile. You can use them again. The same is not true for Baku cores. If all 3 are used, they stay used forever. Unless you have cards with symbols. Now, if you're battling and flip over a gate card with a symbol, this one has a green fist on it. And that player has a green fist in their used pile. Now that player can refresh that green fist onto their unused pile, and then later, if they decide so, use it again. Now the same is true for you and everyone else in that battle. Anyone who's in that battle and has a green fist can put that green fist from their used pile to their unused pile. The same is true for other symbols. This one's the same for fire fists. This one's the same for the shield, the blue shield. Now obviously there are two more symbols on gate cards. There's this, which has a fusion symbol on it, which is a big F. There we go. If you battle on a card like this, only Fusion Bakugan can activate the symbol's effect. Now what the symbol does in my version is, if you have a Bakugan with 2 or more attributes, usually a Fusion Bakugan, you can decide to either get both of the bonuses, like usual. Fusion Bakugan count as both of their printed attributes, and each Bakugan gets a bonus for each of their printed attributes base. Now, if you have a Fusion Bakugan, you can decide on cards with this symbol only to instead get one of the attributes bonus twice.
Editing low pro here. So the other symbol that can happen is a sword in a hexagon, which is called the Battle Gear symbol. And in my format, what it does is you can refresh your battle gear. So each player on the card in the battle gets to refresh their battle gear if they have any.
Now there's one more thing. A few more things for multiplayer. Now one thing I forgot for single player is, instead of rolling a Bakugan onto the field, you can also deploy a Geogan from one space upward onto a card. Or, if you have one, a mobile assault from the old Bakugan, which is a big vehicle you can roll, and it has a G power on it. Now, that's everything. Geogan, like Bakugan, count as different entities and can be moved like Bakugan. Now that's everything for single player. Now no, actually there's still one more thing. I'm sorry. Okay, but if you ever manage to, with a roll so hard, you kick a Bakugan or Geogan off the card, off the field. I told you, the field is every single card on the table or floor you're playing on. Oh yeah, also you can set a gate card if you still have any in your turn before rolling or at any other time, as long as it's still your turn. You can just set it anywhere as long as it's touching another gate card. So like so. Now this is the field, every card here. So if you knock something off the field, you instantly win the card you're standing on. And the first one to win 3 cards wins the game. Now, obviously, if you knock someone onto another card, nothing happens. They now stand on that card, and you now stand on this card. Now, back to multiplayer rules. So, if you play with more than 2 players, many more things can happen. I already told you each player can at any time decide to use their Bakugan on any standing Bakugan, even if it's not their own. Now, what also happens is a new rule for how battles work. So, if there's a battle, if a battle begins, the gate card is flipped. After that, before anything gets bonuses, each other player, other than the 2 in the battle, can decide to try and roll their Bakugan into the battle. If they fail, they stand on that card and nothing happens. If they succeed, it is now a triple battle, which means there are now 3 players in that battle, and now the player out of the 3 with the highest power wins that card. So that means if 2 players are fighting, you can just intervene by trying to roll your Bakugan onto their space. Obviously, you still have to decide if it's worth doing, if you, for example, have the necessary power to do so, or if not. And that's probably everything. Now, there's one thing I've just realized is if a player manages to knock with their trying to intervene move, manages to knock someone off the field, that player obviously doesn't instantly win because there's still a Bakugan there. No, that other Bakugan is knocked out from the battle, and that player cannot no longer decide to roll into the battle. Now that should be everything. I've linked 2 documents below, one for rules, one for allowed games pieces, and they should cover any other thing. I might have probably forgotten many things and how I would rule them in my new format, but it's still developing. So I hope you have a great day, and that's everything.